Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Benny the Guest. With you, as always, me, Ben. Today, I'm joined by
Emily.
Mike. Thank
Yep,
you
no
so much for
problem,
coming on. Hopefully, you don't walk off. M-
man. No, we're good.
Mike is a retired police officer. Served how many years?
23 total.
Damn. Um, that's first of all, thank you for your service.
Yep,
Secondly,
absolutely.
um, he has a lot of funny ass shit on social media. Actually, calling out stuff about the law enforcement world, and we're kind of here to talk to him today about where he came from, how he got into all that, as well as a little bit of his law enforcement lifestyle and what's going on now with some current stuff that happened. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about where you're from, how you grew up, and then what got you into the law enforcement.
So I grew up. I was born in New York, and I grew up in South Jersey. Moved to Florida when I was 17. And the funniest way, now I can tell it because funniest way, how I became a cop. So I never, ever, ever, ever. I didn't play cops when we played cops and robbers. I was always the robber. So I was 18 playing softball in like a rec league here in Vero Beach, and I smoked a lot of weed. So before the games, like any other dude, I would smoke weed. And about 2 or 3 weeks into the season, some dude walks up to me and says, "Hey, man, how do you like playing softball with the chief of police?" And I said, "Chief of police?" And he's like, "Yeah, the guy Jim on your team is the chief of the Vero Beach Police Department." I'm like, "Holy shit! Like,
Damn.
what am I doing?" So, needless to say, I stopped smoking weed, and so I then find out there's like seven cops on the team, and I was, a decent athlete. I was pretty good. We won a championship, and I became friends with the chief. And he says basically, you ever think about being a cop? And I was like, not once, never crossed my mind. So he said, you know what, you go in the military, get a little military experience. He said, I'd love to have you on. So I went 3 years United States Army, and he kept true to his word. I came back in 1999. He brought me in as a dispatcher for about a year while I waited to go to the academy. I went to the academy and started patrol in February of 2001.
How was that? How was that transition? Well, first of all, let's talk about that a little quick. What'd you do in the army?
I was 11 Bravo Airborne Infantry. I was went through Fort Benning, Georgia, and then was stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana, first of the 509. So called Op Four. Basically, we were like it was like a war games we played every
Yeah,
month. So
yeah.
all the units, from, yeah, Op Four. So the Op Four guys would come through, I'll be honest with you, it was the coolest. It's like being a dope cop. Like being a dope cop is probably the coolest thing you can do as a cop. And for me, the coolest thing you probably do in the military is be Op Four. And
You
I
get to fuck with
love
everybody
every
else. You get to. You don't have to worry about
unbelievable.
shit. You get to fuck
All
with
the cool
everyone.
shit. Yeah, and you know what? When you die, you go home. So
Yeah.
like when you got sick of being in the field, you're like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go try to take on 20 guys by myself and get killed." You go home, come back a few days later, get a hot meal. We used to be like, "Oh man, the Giants are playing." I'm a Giants fan. Giants are playing Sunday, so I'm gonna get killed Saturday night. Go home, watch a game. I'll be back by Monday. So it was a really, really cool job.
Nice. And then how was it? You had to do that interval period of dispatching. I know dispatching is like kind of a whole thing in and of itself. How was that?
It it is, and you know what? It gave me a lot of respect for dispatchers. I spent about a year there waiting to go to the academy. It helped me get the lingo down, helped me understand how to talk on the radio. So some of the things you'll have as a new trainee is like this: you're scared to get on the radio, you're scared to make a decision, you don't know what to say to people. Few of those things were overcome by being a dispatcher. I understood all the codes, I understood how they talked on the radio. That made it a very easy transition in that area, and it actually probably boosted my confidence even being out there because I knew what to say and I kind of knew the lingo. So huge respect for dispatchers because it is a tough job. You got not only the calls, the phone going off, the radio. Where I was in the city, everybody came to dispatch for every. You basically you're like the cop of the station. Anything and like the disposal, anything that needs to be done, they want to know answer to. They walked in dispatch and there could be 1,000 things going on, and one of us have to stop. What do you need? What do you need? So it gave me a really big respect for them, and it helped transition to the patrol side of things.
How was what? I'm sorry, I didn't. Maybe I didn't catch it. What city is this again?
It was Vero Beach, Florida. We're Indian County, Vero Beach. We're about an hour and 20 minutes southeast of Orlando, right on the water, just
Okay.
south of like the Cape where the SpaceX and all that is. About an hour south of where the shuttle takes off.
Oh, nice. Okay. And then, so you're there. Where's the academy at? 'Cause I know sometimes they move you out for where.
No, so
Where's
here
that?
every like county has one, like the colleges. So the college was just one county south, St. Lucie County, Indian River State College. So I went to the academy there, which was just drive, a 20-minute drive from my house.
How was that experience? Is it how long? How long was it, and how was it?
It was, I believe it was like October, September, October to February. Coming from the military, it was just weird because that transition is not, they say paramilitary. There is no military, nothing. Police to military. It's less than one, maybe 5%. The rank structure maybe is about it. There's definitely nothing similar. I mean, I'm in the academy. I'm 22, 23, still in great shape from the military, run like a deer. And you got guys that are overweight, and you got people that don't want to run 100 feet. And you're like, what? It just didn't make sense to me when people stopped running or didn't want to do push ups. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's not an option. And I found out fast that obviously there's nothing similar. So it was, I was a squad leader because I had the military experience, and I enjoyed it. I was terrible in school. I got a GED. I dropped out. But when I got to that stuff, I found out I really enjoyed the law. I really enjoyed police stuff. I had like a 98 average, which was actually like fifth best. There was people at 99 and higher. But really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the learning everything. Enjoyed the police academy, and moving on to patrol.
Yeah. What oh, I have a side tangent. It's been on my mind since you said that. What is the deal with like? I'm from Missouri originally, so I saw a lot of my sheriff's department. There's not a lot of police out there, but
Mhm.
in a lot of these cities, there's so many like, and I'm not skinny, but they're like overweight, obese cops. Like, what is the deal with that? Is that
I
just
It's a thing. I post memes about it, and I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense that, like in the military, you have to be a certain body weight, body fat composition. You have to be able to pass a PT test.
yeah,
And it's like, that's what I say. It's nothing the same. You can be, and again, probably talk about this throughout the conversation, like not well trained in anything, not only physically fit, but firearms proficiency, defensive tactics. But I don't one of the guys in my class that went through, super overweight, like diabetic. He's got to stop like every 2 minutes and like check his blood sugar. I'm thinking, how the fuck is that going to resonate to a call for service or like a fight? Like, what the fuck?
yeah,
And he happened to be the son of a prevalent political person in the area. So I don't even want to talk about him. I don't like either of them. So I don't even want to give anybody a hint to who I'm talking about. But um, it was just mind boggling. And then you see, like, one of my sergeants when I started was, God, he was 400 pounds, easily 400 pounds. And it was like, and I came in that weird transition of like, 2001, the 80s, 90s of recklessness of, police. And then kind of it started to get standardized, and then they started doing the accreditation stuff. So it was like a weird time where I remember when I started, they were like, I was on midnight shift, brand new, and everybody else was 100 years old. And they're like, if you fucking talk on the radio after 2 a.m., we'll fucking kill you. Like, shut your mouth, do everything you want to do before 1 a.m. After 2. And I'm like, brand new, like, oh God. And I couldn't even say a word. But yeah, the weight thing is insane to me. It's insane. It's not fair to the public and other cops that people are allowed to smoke and be completely fat, disgusting, and out of shape. It just makes no sense to me.
yeah. I always wondered about that, about
It's
how
nuts.
cops felt about that, because I could see you're in shape and like the like I'm just like how the fuck, but I'm sure it's probably
It,
similar to how the army guys feel too about like
yeah, but
big
you can't
tubble
say anything.
ards. Yeah,
You can't say anything,
well,
dude.
because then especially in the army, because then they're like, well, they passed the test, the tape
Well,
test or
the army, at
whatever,
least
and
they
you're like,
passed the
yeah,
test, and at
but
least
that
it was somewhat physically fit. Like, you still had to have a pulse. I mean, the fucking
true.
standard for us was you could walk the test to get in the police academy. You could walk it and pass. Like, you could walk it. You could smoke a cigarette. One guy, as a joke, he fucking smoked a cigarette and walked the entire course and passed it. It
Damn.
was so. There are, but it's, again, in the police world, it's even worse about saying things. You can't really say anything, or you're the bad guy. And I would put 10% of the cops are like well trained, physically fit, ready to go to war. I would say 10% is probably up. That might be high. But then you have, like, I'm telling you, 90% ain't done shit or aren't ready to do shit.
Yeah, but it's like it's mirroring military stuff right now.
Hmm.
Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. So you get on, you start your first, you pass the academy, you start patrolling and stuff. How was that? You start out as a street cop, I guess, or
Yeah. So that we don't, you don't fall behind. I spent I started at Vero in '99 as a dispatcher, went on the road in '01. I spent about 3 years there. and I went to the sheriff's office in '04, December of '04. So I start out in the city, very small city, very they don't want to admit there's any crime. It's very micromanaged, very controlled. You can't do any real police work, or it's frowned upon. They're almost trying to like cook the book. Matter of fact, there's a lawsuit going on now where they got caught cooking the books on crime. But they're basically trying to keep you from doing anything too wild. They want it to be nice, peaceful retirement community, Vero Beach, and none of that wild stuff the sheriff's office is doing. So with it, very quickly, I realized I want to be a cop. Like I want to do shit. So I spent about 3 years in that micromanaged atmosphere, and then I went to the Indian County Sheriff's Office.
How was that transfer once you got over there? You got to actually do some police work and
Yeah,
stuff,
that
or
that was it. Yeah, I went from like I said, I used to scan the sheriff's office, listing all the wild shit they were doing, and then I went straight to what's a little town called Gifford, which is basically our hood. And a lot of good people up there. I loved it. I worked there most of my career. So when I say that, I'm not being derogatory, but it's the drug area. When I started, crack was prevalent, and I went from answering ambulance calls and like picking old people up off the floor to, white dudes chewing crack and we're ripping them out of the window, choking them and stuff.
holy
So it, it
shit.
was it was really cool transition. I went straight into the middle of the crack epidemic in like 2004, five, six. Dudes trading their car for drugs, just doing reckless shit, and I loved it. That was the best run of law enforcement. I had the most fun, and it was a really good time.
Did do you think it was that much fun because you found, because a lot of people hear that and they think of kind of a darkness to you, but I would imagine, is it because you found purpose, right? You're making truly a better area, or
Not only purpose, but people don't realize, and even today, you don't realize how much everybody says the war on drugs is impossible. You're never going to win it. I get it. A lot of cops have that. It's just dope. DUIs are more important. Burglaries, property crimes. I agree. Where I found my calling in dope was those guys are breaking into your car. Those guys are stealing shit. Those guys are robbing stores. They're doing reckless shit. So I found my calling, and if I can put as many drug users and drug dealers away, it would help bring that down. And again, I was in a 250,000 people in this county. About 500 sworn, 150 on the road. So not massive, but you can make it was. I always said it was a good place to work because you could get lost if you want to get lost and just be like, I need a break, like I'm gonna kind of lay low, or you could be like in the spotlight at all times making cases. So I found it was the dope. It was the cat and mouse game. It was the street cred. I'll be honest with you. I was a cocky young cop and confident, cocky, but I enjoyed that like hood games. Like the black dudes knew who you were, the black chicks knew who you were. Oh, that's so and so, bald dude. He's gonna chase you down. And then the drug users knew who you were. Like, oh, dude, we gotta watch out for that guy. And there was a group of us that just that's what we did, and we really enjoyed it. And it was a little ego driven, but I also felt like you got to stop these people from doing this stuff and put them in jail because they're either going to kill themselves, and it got worse with the pill epidemic. But even the crack days, they're going to do wild shit. They're going to try to fight somebody for something. They're going to get their ass kicked. They're stealing their mom and dad's car. They're stealing their mom and dad's TV. They're breaking in your shit in the middle of the night. So I kind of looked at it like I enjoyed it, and I felt like I could help make somewhat of a difference when it came to like property crimes and stuff like that.
yeah, that's good. That speaks to your ethic. You I never understood this. You start out basically, you said street cop, and then you're going to the sheriff's department. Do you still kind of run a beat, or did you pick a specialty at that point, or how does
So
that
yeah,
work?
you still work a zone. So I worked, 1101 was the zone. 1101 was the hood zone. 1102 was like the backup for it. And then after about, I came to the sheriff's office in December of '04, and in June of '06, I got promoted to narcotics detective. And then I spent about 6.5 years doing all that crazy stuff.
What That's insane.
Hmm.
Narcotics. Like I hear that, and that sounds insane to me. With that, is it a different role, or is it a different type of
Yeah.
thing you're
Yeah.
doing, or
So
what are you
yeah. So when
doing?
I got in when I started in our agency, we had a thing called MACE. It was the Multi Agency Criminal Enforcement Unit. So you had guys from the city police department, Vera Beach, Sebastian, and then guys from the sheriff's office. And then you had like a DEA agent that was assigned to the area that would kind of be involved. And we had like offsite office. Back then, we rented cars, so we had like a rental car contract with like Enterprise, so we get a different car every week, every day if we needed it. We could swap them out. We had like a running, just a monthly tab with them, and basically, we at that point, your job is to sneak around as an undercover and also cultivate informants, get dudes to buy dope for you and start to write, get into like writing search warrants and making sale charges on people and trying to work up to what was the ultimate goal back then, um, was like get to like a wiretap status where you're actually tapped into like a drug dealer's phone and listening to transactions. And I was involved in low level street stuff, reverse buys. Back then we did like, we had dudes selling drugs. We would get drugs out of evidence, take photographs of it, document it, and then we would like hit a search warrant at a dope house, and then we would put our own undercover cops in there. We'd get like black undercover cops from other agencies come in, and they would pose as drug dealers, and we would sell drugs to the people showing up and take them down, and just wild. I mean, wild shit. And then again, that was like the early on, and then our ultimate goal, was to get to like a wiretap, and I was involved in two pretty large scale wiretap investigations that went federal and actually left the country to Mexico, Haiti, and all that stuff.
That's wild. Is it? I imagine the number one, the adrenaline rush, maybe, but two, the anxiety of it too, probably because you're
Yeah.
involved in a lot of stuff. Was that a
Yeah.
lot on you?
Yeah. So hindsight, I got involved in a lot of local cases with local dudes, and it came back. I would say came back to bite me later on, where guys, they would get in trouble and they would just, you know, oh, he was a crooked cop, or yeah, I was paying him off, or they would just
Oh
make up
man.
any. You know what he thinks about that when you get into it. You plus your family. I remember one. There was like two guys I arrested. Ironically, both of their last names was Brown, and two of the only people on earth I'm scared of, really truly afraid of. And one of them, I got him on a bunch of sale charges. He got two life sentences because his criminal history was so bad. And I remember I stopped some dude one day in Fellsmere, which is like a outskirts of our county, out in the it's a city jurisdiction, very small, like two cops, but it had like its own little hood area. And I was out there one day and I stopped some guy and he looked at my name tag and he said, "I know who you are." And I said, "How you?" I've never seen the guy. He goes, "You're Mike." And he said my last name. He said, I said, "How'd you know me?" He goes, "Randy Brown's in jail." He said, "He's going to kill you if he ever gets out." And I didn't take it like a joke. It was guy was serious.
Right.
We'd gone to trial. He was found guilty. The Fourth District Court of Appeals, which is liberal, overturned it. Had to go to a second trial. He got convicted again, life in prison. But he walked around the jail and said, "I'm going to kill it." And I believe to this day, if he could ever get out, he would try. And then another guy, same thing. We did a large wiretap investigation. He was the main target locally. And when we arrested him, we took him down in a house. We ordered drugs. It was long, long case, a lot of RICO charges and stuff. But at the end, we just did a huge buy. We got a girl. She called and ordered like a couple $100 worth of crack. He showed up. We took him out. He was face down on the ground, cuffed. And I walked in. And he rolled over and he looked up at me. He said my name. He goes, "You live three houses down from here, two streets over, and the blue car in the driveway." And I was like, "Yep." And I was like, "The good news is you're never getting out of prison, so you're not gonna be able to do anything with it." But so I learned throughout that. I had one drug dealer tell me, as much as you study them, he goes, they study you. They know where your kids go to school. They know what you drive. They know where you get your milk in the morning. They know where you stop for coffee. And I found out that that's actually true. And even in a small town like mine, there's that game of like, and then eventually I'm going to have a guy on. I don't want to talk about it too much. That was massive, massive, running drugs to Colombia and through the Bahamas and all that. And he actually talks about how he paid people to surveil the police.
Holy
So it's
shit.
pretty deep shit, man. It gets pretty wild when you go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's like to me that's the most terrifying thing ever. Not because of you either, because I think you understand too. Your family,
Yep.
when they start bringing their family into it, that's
Yep.
changes the entire game.
Yep. You
That
see it
is
on TV and
awful.
you think like, oh, does it really happen? And like I said, in big cities, absolutely, there's cops getting knocked off, no doubt, for that kind of stuff. But even in a small town like where I'm at, but we're 2 hours from Miami and 2 hours from Orlando, and there's some big cities around. But it's it was by the grace of God, nothing happened to me. But I know there are a few people that are sitting in prison that would love to kill me if they could. And that's something you don't really think about when you're young and you're out there running around and doing wild shit. And it doesn't cross your mind until you get to be 48 years old like me and retired, and you start thinking, man, dude, like that shit's deep.
Absolutely. You're doing. How long were you a narcotics detective for, and where
I
did
was
you
in
move
there.
on to after that?
So I went about 6.5 years from 2006 to 2012.
Doing all
And that,
that shit.
yeah,
Oh
we did.
my
You
god.
know, I bought drugs, sold drugs, bought guns, went to big cities like Orlando and did drug deals, went all over. And then you kind of, that's a long time to be in there and that type of stress and unit. And it just like any other job, it starts to get, you kind of get worn out in the police world. And you find that patrol is always the most fun and always the best place to go because it's when I say this I don't mean this in a lacking way or a lazy way, but it's the least amount of responsibility. Now it's the most dangerous because you never know what the next call is going to bring, but the good thing about patrol is when you go home you're done. Like the phone goes off, you're done, unless there's some catastrophic riot or something crazy. I made SWAT later on. If you're on SWAT and all that stuff, then yeah, you're going to get called in. But when you're on patrol, day's over, the day's over. You go home, you don't have to worry about getting called in, you don't have anything to deal with. You have some court stuff here and there, but so I went back to patrol after all those years, and you get that like, man, this is great. And I always enjoyed, like I said, dope arrests and finding warrants. It was always my two favorite things to do. So I go back to patrol and I get back into just being a cop, going back to work the hood. I get some new guys. I'm at this point, I'm 12, 13 years into my career, and I know it. I know the job. I know how to teach people the job. So I started taking pride in, like, I was working like night swing shift, like 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., which was great. You had a little bit of daytime, you had the nighttime, still go home and go to bed and get up at a decent hour, go to the gym, stuff like that. So I started, working patrol, and I got to work with all the new guys that were coming out. And I really enjoyed having those guys kind of look up to me and being able to mold some of their careers. And most of them that I worked closely with ended up being their supervisors now or in specialty units. And they were really successful based on, and I'm not saying I did anything special. I was just, I took the time to try to pass that knowledge on and what's the right thing, what's the wrong thing back then, because everything's different now. Everything's fucking wrong now, but can't do anything right. But back then, I was able to help mold some of these new guys, and like I said, most of them are supervisors or in special positions or have moved on and moved up. So I enjoyed that, and then I kind of found my way back to detective a few times, and eventually got promoted and did some other things.
Yeah, uh, I can relate on the instructing people. I think that's like in civil service jobs, it's like the greatest feeling when you can help mold others to like,
Hmm.
even if you're not like their mentor, right? You're just giving these pieces of advice that helped you, and you find people take solace in it and stuff. That's like the greatest feeling ever.
Yeah,
When
it is.
you're doing all this, you're like you said, you're married with kids.
I was married. Well, yeah, I had 4 children, very young, and I was married up until 2009. I ended up getting divorced in '09. And then it kind of, it's like the cop thing, it's like the stereotype thing, it happens. It's just you get so sucked in, and those years of dope and working narcotics take a toll if you really do it. It's one of those double-edged swords. If you really do it, you just, man, you're just not you're not that involved in the home life, and you can't. It's one of the, like I said, it's like being in the military. It's like you can't go to war and be be like at home. Somebody's got to go do it. It wasn't that bad. I didn't go to war, but I was very into the job. I spent a lot of time on the phone with informants. I took that job serious. I put a lot of people away. So I did. I was probably not the greatest husband, and just kind of removed. In '09, I ended up divorced with 4 kids. Go through the whole typical cop. Go to turn to alcohol and child support out the ass and living like shit. And had to move back in with my mom and had my roughest years from like '09 to like 2014 were some bad, rough years of just a typical movie cop that's alcoholic and going through it and divorced and child support. It was rough, and I got way out of shape. I gained weight. I was 220, 230, 240. I ballooned up to. I was in bad shape and kind of went through it. In about 2014, I kind of turned it all around and took a different path and got to kind of where I am now.
Yeah, where what was that turning point for you? And you said you did a little more after that. What was going on?
Yeah, I got very, very heavy, and I remember sitting on. I got home, or I went home on break one night. It was like February, March of like 2014. I remember it, and I remember sitting on the bed, and my fucking stomach was sticking over my belt so bad, and it was so tight. We wore that old leather and Class B, and I'll never forget it. I had that moment. I'm like, you are fucking disgusting. Like, and I wouldn't even be considered in bad shit. The sad part is, I was still probably in the top 5 or 10% of cops at my agency. So when I say this, people are probably like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" But I was disgusting, and I remember I had the moment. I was like, "You're fucking disgusting," and I that was it. I joined Anytime Fitness Gym, which was right down the road. Walked in there right around my birthday, May of like 2014, and I was like, "This is it, dude. Like you're done." And I take things. I'm very addictive personality. I take it very serious. I just started running, and I first before I joined the gym. Actually, I had my mom had a treadmill, like a beat up old treadmill, and it was in a when I first moved to Florida from Jersey. They had to add like a metal room on the back of the house, which was mine because it was like a four bedroom, but my grandparents lived there and big house. We were all family, tight family, so that extra room was still there, and the air conditioner was broken. It was metal, so it was really hot out there. So she had like a treadmill out there, and I would open the door, crank, it was hot as balls. I'd get on the treadmill and I just started going at it. And then I had like I bought like off Craigslist. I bought one of those gym mats you had in high school, like the blue mat you threw out in
Oh
high
yeah,
school. I
yeah,
bought
yeah.
one of those. I threw that out in the driveway, and I got so crazy about it. You know how it is. People started making fun of me and started unfollowing me on social media because I just took it that serious. And I was like, so I went from like 240 fat slob to like 180 in 6 months. But skinny fat before my vaccination days. Uh, and so I was like skinny fat, and I had never lifted weights. So then I was like, I lost all this weight. I'm running. I could run like the wind. Even up until a year and a half ago, I could run a sub 6 minute mile
Damn.
at 47 years old.
That's
A half, and yeah, a
impressive.
mile and
Yeah.
a half in the low tens, 10:30, 10:20. I would get it, and I ended up ripping my knee apart 2 or 3 times. But so running was very easy. So that was how I burned all the weight. And then I started getting into the gym and vaccinating a little bit here and there, and doing some things. And I started to gain muscle and get bigger, and kind of transitioned into actually competed in a men's physique competition at one point in 2016, and got real serious about health and well-being, and I kind of kept that rolling. And I didn't make SWAT till I was 42 years old, which our tryout is one of the hardest in the state. And I made it at 42, and just kept that lifestyle. And I do that now. I'm almost 49. Go to the gym every day, work out. I can't run, but I still do as best I can.
Hell yeah. No, it's number one. It's good that you were able to bounce back by yourself. It wasn't anybody else trying to tell you shit. You're just
Yeah,
like, I'm a fucking slob right now. I got to
yeah,
get my
yeah.
shit
It's
together. Cause
a tough conversation to have with yourself.
oh yeah, when I joined the army, I was 270, something like that,
Wow,
and
holy
yeah,
shit.
I was a big old boy, and
Wow,
I dropped like 70 pounds when I
good,
so
awesome.
I was like 22, and I was but no, I know that feeling though of like I
Yeah,
got to figure
and
this
then
shit out, and then you
yeah,
do
it's
it, and
bad.
then I'm still I still I like to run a lot more than I do lift, but I still get out there and stuff, and
Yeah,
that's what I hope for though is to be like 50 and still getting after it. So that's promising.
I'm almost there, and
Yeah.
like I don't see any. I'm in pain, and I laughed about like the eyesight thing and knees, and I used to make even up to my mid 40s. I laughed like you're not gonna your knees are never gonna stop. What's just these guys with knee pain and back? Well, it came fast, and I can't fucking see to save my life. I finally had to break down and get glasses, and I am in constant. Like I said, my left knee is shot. I needed a knee replacement over a year ago, and retiring and all that. I just kind of been putting it off, and shoulders hurt, back hurts, but I can't gather not being not just not I don't know. I look at especially training from a cop. You just never want to be a victim, or you never want to like I don't want to be standing or not being able to help somebody that is a victim. That'll never really like leave my system. Like being in good shape and being able to be productive and being able to help people. Like I said, I'm not going to go to calls for service anymore. I'm done with that. But I'd hate to be standing in Publix or at a bank or in a store and not being, again, that's just fucked up that people do it, even outside law enforcement, like not being able to do something, interject, help, pull somebody out of a car, a ditch. Like, I don't know. I mean, for only for that reason, that's kind of the public safety thing that'll never leave me, even though I've given up. I don't give a fuck about the job anymore. I don't miss it. But I just never would want to be like, I guess I kind of got it embedded after 26 years between the army and the cop, just being some type of productive person. in any situation. And I think physical fitness is important.
Absolutely. You you mentioned you got on the SWAT team at
Yes.
42, which is impressive by itself. But how was that when you know you did narcotic detective, you're doing
So
all
it's a
that
great,
stuff. How do
great.
you
I
go?
don't know if I told anybody the story on podcast yet. So in 2009, in my midst of my fatness, we were all going on vacation. We were going on vacations and stuff. We were in Key West at a big thing. It was the last trip I made before I got divorced. And maybe it was '08. So it was, oh, I got divorced in '09. So it was like '08, like August of '08. And the whole SWAT team, at some reason, I went every year in August for Lobster Fest for like 4 or 5 years in a row. And at some point, you kind of like, you invite people and the party starts. And next
Oh
thing you know, you
yeah.
got way too many fucking people there. So after year, we started inviting more people. And at one point in this last trip that I went on in '08, there was like fucking 25 cop families there. And everybody was there and everybody's at different hotels. So I was at this hotel with most of these SWAT guys. And these dudes were, this was like mid, 2000s. These guys were fucking monsters. They were all in great shape, just fucking jacked, just badass dudes. So they're all there, and I'm a fucking fat slob. And I remember coming. It was midday. I'm fucking hammered. I was an alcoholic then. I was an alcoholic from like 2009 to like 2012, 13. No, 11, 12, like 4 years of just. My dad passed away in 2010, September 27, 2010, young, just sent me down the path, and my mom. And so I was raging alcoholic. So I'm fucking down in Key West, and I remember it was like fucking noon. I'm wrecked. And the gate was locked. And I had a fucking whole pizza. So I'm like starving. So I'm like coming back to the hotel. It was like a breakfast, bed and breakfast. And I climbed the fucking fence of the hotel and like fall down, coming over, wrecked. And all these fucking jack SWAT guys are out there with their wives and fucking shirts off, fucking. Ah. And I was like, you motherfuckers. I was like, you know what? I said, fuck all you guys. I'm gonna make the fucking SWAT team. I said, I'm going home after this fucking trip because I played Xbox all day and night, drank beer. I'm throwing my fucking Xbox away and I'm gonna fucking show you motherfucker. And I just went on this fucking rant and I went up and shook all their hands and bet them all. You fucking guys, blah blah blah. So go home. Obviously, I don't stop drinking for years go by. And 2015, the trial comes out, and um, right at the last minute, I'm like, they're like, go put in for it. I was just starting to get in decent shape. I wasn't ready, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. So then I said, you know what? I'll try out next year. So 2016 rolls around, and I go start getting in shape, and there's one little thing I didn't know existed then. That's called thing called CrossFit. I had no idea what it was. I was lifting, I was benching heavy, I was benching 350, 360. I was strong as shit. Um, got in good shape, but I could run, but I didn't know CrossFit existed. So I tried out for SWAT in 2016, all ready to go. Our tryout consisted of 5 bodyweight push-ups, which is, I'm sorry, 30 bodyweight push-ups, which is simple. It was 50 sit-ups in a minute and a half or 2 minutes, something like that. Simple as fuck. 5 pull-ups with the vest on, which was about 15 pounds. You had to do 5 full, and they were very strict full pull-ups. 8 dips with the vest on. Bench your body weight 5 times, and then run the mile and a half in 12. And it was again, it was still 20. They kind of wing it. So you had the standards, but what I didn't know was that year you go do all the stuff, and I'm like, okay, I can pass all this stuff. They throw a CrossFit workout before the mile and a half.
Oh,
And
damn it.
I had no idea it existed.
Damn it.
So I get there and I'd never rode before. I'd never done a wall ball before. I'd never biked before. And they throw this like burpee, box jump, wall ball fucking mess. So I go and I fail the fucking run. And I was a runner. At one point in that tryout sequence, getting ready, I ran the mile and a half in like 10:27. So I was
Damn.
ready. Get fucking smoked, fail the run. Now they let you fail some things. So I failed. I think I failed the pull-ups by one because I did more than they required, but they didn't count one or two, and I didn't pass the run. So I go throughout the day, and I'm a terrible heat heights. Anyway, get to the obstacle course. So I go through the whole fucking day. And this tryout is miserable. I'm talking miserable. They beat your fucking ass all day, running, carrying ammo cans. It is bad, bad day, fucking long day. I get to the obstacle course. I'm terrified of heights. Get to the rope, start to go up, and I'm like, I come down like half, like not even halfway, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. And the dude on the rope is just like, go around it, go around it, you can go around it. And I didn't know that was an option. I'm like, I'm fucking whooped at this point. You're like done. He's like, go around it. So I start to go up again, come down. He's like, dude, just go to the next obstacle. I'm like, I'm done. And we had this guy, Burdock, fucking flat top, like the drill sergeant in fucking Full Metal Jacket. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what? He said he's done. He's done. Get him on the fucking truck. He's out of here. He's done. So I failed. I was like, woo, great. So I had to eat that. I got then when you fail, they take you to the fucking spot and they get on the radio and they call a fucking road car to come pick you up like a piece of shit. They drive you back to the station. You got to get your shit, go home. And I'm like, motherfucker. So I fail. Next year comes around. I'm like, I'm not fucking doing it. Fuck them guys. I'm not doing it. I'm like, I'm not ready. Don't try out. So then I'm sitting around 2018 and like June, they send the email, comes out June 1st every year. Fucking email comes out and I'm like, I was fucking getting ready. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it. And I was like, I'm talking like 5, 6% body fat at this point. I was on like a diet. I was fucking vaccinating like crazy. And I'm fucking like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So I fucking go wild. And when I say wild, I fucking 7 guys tried out. I was the youngest. I was the oldest guy by 12 years. The next youngest guy was 30. Everybody else was under 30. I was 42. Leading up to that tryout, I was running, dude. I was running 5, 6 miles with no music, boots,
Oh,
BDUs, hoodie, weighted vest in fucking Florida in July.
that's that David Goggins anger
Fuck,
run.
I just
Yeah,
went. I said,
yeah.
and the last thing that happened was my ex-wife. I was married a second time. No, I'm married a third time, and this one's great. No problems in this one. But my second wife went to the dentist, and the dentist is a badass. He's on the SWAT team. Great dude, James Betancourt, and he's a medic, dentist, and reserve officer. And she came home from a dentist appointment, and she said, "Yeah, I ran into Betancourt," and he was like, "Told me you're going to try out," and he goes, "Oh, dude, I saw his first tryout. That dude's not going to make it. He's fucking shit." And I'm like, so I just basically I went anger crazy, and I told everybody in my circle, my friend, I said, I need 2 months. Don't fucking talk to me. Don't say a word to me. Leave me alone. So I went all out and I made it. I was the only guy to make it out of 7 guys. Made it through the day. Went through, made it, and um, probably the thing I did a lot of things. That's probably the one I'm most proud of is And then the joke was, so I go. You make the day, you're fucking exhausted. Like dudes get rhabdo. One guy got rhabdo the year I
Oh,
tried out,
damn.
and it was in the hospital a week. So you get done, you sit down at a table like I'm at. You got Burdock, Lonnie Rich, who is like the dude from Rocky, the fucking big Russian dude from
Oh,
Rocky.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what he
yeah.
looks like. He's like 6'6",
Fucking
fucking
Drago. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's fucking zero body fat, CrossFitter, and then Pat White, who's a cat. You got these 3 dudes sitting there. You have the entire SWAT team sitting behind you. They start fucking drilling you. You're on an operation. You're guarding the 1-2 corner of a house, and shots go off on the other side of the house. What do you do? And it's like focus on my mission, keep eye on what I'm supposed to, watch my. So I go through, I answer all the questions, and then the final question was, "Who wins the bet?" And at this point, I'm like, "The bet." And they're like, "Who wins the bet?" And I'm like, "What fucking bet?" They're like, "You fucking bet us in '09 you're gonna make the SWAT team. Did you fail because it took too long, or do you win?" And I was like, and I kind of knew at that point like I was gonna make it. Like they were because you still don't make it. You can make the whole fucking day and not make it.
Damn.
You don't if you don't get the
The questioning,
you don't get
right?
the
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was it. I fucking made it, and that was probably the only downside. What sucks is it was August 15th, 2018, and my grandfather was in hospice and he passed away while I was on the trial. So I kind of had that moment of like something, I got through it and I was going to get through it. And I'm not super crazy about like spirits and things. And I'm very, I believe in God and all that. And I just, I got home. I'll never forget it. I get home. I'm like fucking exhausted. I lost like 13 pounds during the day. I waited at like 212 in the morning and I got home at like 199. And I was told, your grandfather passed away about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, fuck. So, like I said, it was a kind of a bittersweet ending, but one of the bigger accomplishments of my career.
Yeah, what a beautiful arch too to go from all that shit, like you being down in the dumps and just
Yeah.
going through hell, basically, and then getting to
Yep.
that point. That's fucking
Yep.
badass, man. That
Yeah, it was
movie
cool,
writes
man.
itself.
Yeah.
You what was it like on the SWAT team?
So, again, I catch myself in a lot of transitioning phases. So, as those older guys I talked about that were like monsters kind of fade, kind of like law enforcement changed, it kind of got.
Oh, cause you joined in 2019, right?
Yeah, I come in 2018 after all these.
Oh
So I missed.
fuck.
So I kind of missed all these guys.
Yeah.
So it kind of turns into a younger team. And
Well, more important, I was just saying that what happened in from 2019 on.
yeah,
You're
no,
dealing
that
with all
real
that shit.
well, we were actually one of the one our SWAT team before I made it. Arteria Woods is one of the was killed, and we shot and killed her, black female. And what happened was we were doing a SWAT raid at like 5 a.m. and her boyfriend decides to shoot out the window at the SWAT team. Bad idea, right? They shoot back in and
It went
killed
through
her. And
the.
she was actually on when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on. She was actually on cleats and on shirts and on well, LeBron James wore her name.
That was the one that
They
went through
say her
the.
name.
Didn't it go through the wall or something?
They shot through everything. Yeah, wall
Yeah.
and one of our one of our officers got shot in the shoulder and all that. But
They don't bring
they
that up. They don't want to tell anybody that
no no
part.
no. But and again, it was on. Here's the fucking crazy part: the jury found the dude not guilty. Excuse me. They charged him and they found it. They went with it was 5 a.m. and could they hear it and this and that. Dude's a piece of shit. His grandfather, same family, actually shot and almost killed one of my best friends. And 30 years in prison, 20 years in prison, 25 years. Gets out. He's out like 3 months and gets stopped and has a gun and gets in a fight. And by the grace of God, a revolver of all things malfunctioned as he was standing over my friend and tried to pull the trigger and kill him.
And
And
it was the revol. That was weird too. The
fucking bullet didn't
revolver. Damn.
bullet
Yeah.
didn't fire. A
That's some
fucking
divine intervention
a
shit.
misfire. Dude, you guys see the video? It's crazy, but yes, that dude stood over top of my buddy, pulled, and a fucking revolver would click. And so that same family, so pieces of shit and career criminals, all of them. And but so we were kind of, but that we didn't really feel that in Florida. Even with that incident, we didn't really have any we didn't riots. Florida's pretty squared away, and we have a good governor. But just the team kind of transitioned young, and I'm not gonna I don't want to talk shit about anybody I worked with that's still there. So it just got different, and I got to the end there where the last year or two, I actually updated my memo on my desktop every month, and I resigned from the team. It's been a pleasure, blah blah blah, and I just changed the date on it for the last 2 years. I was at the sheriff's office because I just was sick of all the bullshit. I ended up never being able to submit it. They got to me first, kind of. So, but yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, that's. I mean, at least you got the experience of it at the end, and you have it. That's a crazy old story.
I met Tyler. That's why I met Tyler.
Oh, did
I
you guys work in the same
no,
area?
he
Or?
works in Orange County, which is over in Orlando, and but I actually went to SWAT school with Tyler.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's how we met. I
Tyler's a
got
character. I just had him on. Yeah,
I saw it. I
yeah,
got a
you
shirt
saw.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, and
The-
that was a great story when I told him that I was Copville. He fucking lost his mind because I had
that
to hide that for years.
that's what I wanted to talk about. When did you start Copville, and what was that whole process with that?
So I went through. I've talked about it on the IA Guy podcast, and I went through a real fucking nasty IA where I got demoted over some fucking bullshit, politics and bullshit. And I kind of found myself on the other side of the agency when you're the guy, you're the drug cop, you're doing all the cool shit, and then at some point when you start to try to hold people accountable and not be a sheep and like speak out, they come after you. So anyway, I ended up getting demoted and kind of transferred, and so May of 2023, shortly after I got demoted in June of 22, and then banished, excuse me, to a desk. So I was sitting there kind of stewing, and I went through the whole initial shock and pissed off, and I just kind of subsided. I saw these meme pages, and I'm like, I started making memes talking shit about the agency for the IA and how they demoted me, and then I made a couple generic ones and sent them to some guys around the station, and then I ended up sending him to 10-8 memes. It was a popular page back then. He kind of disappeared, and I sent a couple to him, and I was like, for my personal page, he's like, bro, this is fucking funny. He's like, you should start your own page. I'm like, nah. So then finally, I was like, fuck it. I'm sitting around one day, and Hoodville is a real big page on Instagram, like hood shit, like funny as hell. Like, guy's got like 9 million followers, and so I was like, well, he's like to me, he was like the standard of funny shit for like kind of everything. So like fuck it, Copville. I'm like everybody's got some fancy. All these cop pages have these wild names. They're real long. I'm like something quick to the fucking point. Ville, kind of cool. Hoodville, Copville. So I'm like fuck it, Copville. And I started making memes, and I started like you can collab, and 10-8 memes was collabing some of my shit, and it picked up steam, and I fucking flew, man. I got accused, and I don't want to talk about it for a while. I passed it all, but all these fucking pages and these morons accused me of buying followers because I went quick. I went from like zero to like 10 or 12,000 in like 2 months, and then it just
Damn,
kept
that's
rolling and
awesome.
rolling and rolling, and then a year later in May of like the next year I'm at like 70,000, and then I peaked at 135,000, and they zapped my fucking page. I'm still trying to get it back,
I
but
saw that shit. Yeah.
but the new page I had a backup page for like my store, which was sitting around 3,000. I lost the page on the 27th, and I went. I think I don't know where I'm at. I don't really pay attention like before. I'm about to break 12,000, and from 3,000 to 12,000 in a little over a week. So all the old followers are kind of finding it, kind of seeing that that Instagram's a weird place. Like you can't really advertise. Like you can, but it doesn't work. Like I got the trick now to advertising, but if you post like a fucking advertise, like, "Hey, I'm gone," like it's gonna get fucking like 20 likes and like viewed like 1,000 times. Nobody doesn't catch their algorithm, so you got to like roll your way back, and it's happening. Like I've already got, I think one of my fucking videos went crazy. Like the one I posted, the female one I posted
Oh,
yesterday, that
yeah.
the bullet that's at 981,000 views already. That's from yesterday.
Jesus.
Yeah, that one fucking went wild. And then a couple other ones I posted right away went over. I think one of them's almost a million. So that's really what it takes. You get lucky, you get an algorithm, and you got what I always tell these cop meme pages is you got to like normal people outside of law enforcement will jump on that female cop taser joke because they see the fucking videos of chicks popping people with a fucking gun when it's supposed to be a taser. If you stick to like big sergeant briefing and you stick to like the only the cop stuff, it's not going to leave. So some of my bigger memes when I first started, like I had one where the first one that went crazy was it was like in Thailand and some dude's walking into like the fucking the whorehouse, and it was like the lady's like, "Oh, what do you want? Hand job, foot job, suck job? We lick your ass, lick your balls, blah blah." So I took that video and I said, when you walk into the emergency room and your body camera's on and the nurses are all like some nurse joke, and it like that goes outside of law enforcement. It went fucking wild, like 5-6 million views, and like everybody can relate to that, like nurses, slutty, like the whole stereotype.
Yeah, yeah.
So like that's where I kind of like started getting, and like I have one now, like another one I made. It's like some black chick in Section 8. They're doing a whole presentation. I think it's a prom, and they're like making this big deal, and they're dancing, and she comes walking out in this red, and I put the final boss of Nissan Altimas, like, and it like so
But
it
I
kind of
get that
goes.
even like me, even
Yeah,
me
that's what I'm
hearing
saying.
that. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
it's
Yeah, and it's like then there's
funny.
A Star Wars one that I made that somebody actually sent to me, and it's like the guy uses the line that Jedi business, go back to your drinks or whatever. And I don't watch Star Wars, but again, it goes outside of law enforcement. And I get, if I get 10,000 followers in a month, I get like 2,000 unfollows because people see that, like they think, oh, I like this page, and they come and see it's cop shit, and they bail. So if I kept all the followers I actually had followed me, I'd probably have about 500,000. But so many people unfollow because they see, oh, this guy's a cop. So, but you have to like that's what I think my success was, being outside of just cop stuff. Like if you look at some of these cop pages that, I'm, passing guys that have been, again, 10, 11, 12,000. They've been on there fucking 5, 6 years, and they don't cross that threshold of followers. And I think, again, I don't fucking think it matters because I'm still selling merchandise and I only have 12,000, and it doesn't really resonate anymore. But if you do want to go up, you got to get out. Like, so every new guy, new meme page guy that hits me up is like, hey, you got to get outside law enforcement. You got to make
Well,
shit that's funny to like other people.
it's the same with the podcast, right? Because I'm pretty early on. I've been doing it
Mhm.
for 2 years, but it was super off and on because I was on the trail, and then I PCS stuff, and now I'm getting consistent, and I've set up all this stuff.
Yeah.
But you start to realize, like, at first I was just doing military, and then you're like, if you only stick to that, like, you're only going to catch military people. But if you can get different, like, even just not even just first responders, but just people that want to talk,
Yep.
you're going to
And
be able to reach a lot bigger
and that's what
audience.
I'm gonna try. My podcast. This is a studio, and I have
Yeah,
my
tell
own
them about
set
it a
up.
little
And
bit. You're
so
gonna locked
so I
up, right?
started thinking about, yeah, it's gonna be called Locked Up with Copville. And what I went on Anti-Hero Live on. I came out. I was saying it. I came out of who I was from behind the Copville fake name back in December 17th. I went on the first Anti-Hero Live, and I saw the setup and I kind of thought, okay, I like this. And kind of like the gym, like becoming became a personal trainer. I will say this, like you think you want to be, oh man, I want to be a personal trainer, and you like working out. It kind of takes away. So getting into it a little bit, I'm like, I don't want to get too crazy into it. I want it to be successful, but you can't lose like the fact I got into this, to, like make memes, make a little money. I like to donate money to animal rescues and fallen cops and whatever it is. Anyway, so I just got you got to be careful. I think not to get too crazy into like I'm going to be a podcaster and all that. So I'm kind of keeping it. And my wife is a very big influence. She's very smart. She's like, make sure you stay real and make sure you remember, like, even when the page resets, she goes, go back to what you were doing. Make the fucking memes. They're funny. Make people laugh. You'll get the followers back. It'll come right back. That's what you got to do. And I think with the podcast, I hear a lot of these ones. There's some fucking pages I hate, and I'm not going to talk about them. And they have podcasts and stuff. And you can't just sit here. If we sat here and talked about cop shit, or you talked about, like you said, military shit, it's just not going to do well. And only cops are going to listen, just like the memes. Only cops are going to look at your memes. Only so I have criminals I want to bring on. I have Jerry Worm's first episode of Cops. That's a big dude that touches a lot of law enforcement or outside. He's got a great story, um, but other stuff like criminals, people in the community, just kind of mix it up to kind of hit all that stuff. And I think like anything else, you got to hit that algorithm that people want to listen to it. It's interesting. It has to be. I think quality is important, just like anything to me. It's like but I think that's important to be successful. I think with Tyler and those guys doing Anto here is very good, and they found like a good lane where they call some people out and they have some normal people on, and then they go at it with Crenshaw. They go after Tim Kennedy. You got to be controversial. Any, like I said, you got to kind of mix up. You got to be a little different. But that again, I don't know what the success is going to be. I'm a good. I'll be honest with you. I'm very hard on myself. I'm good in this environment as the question answer or talking. I'm going to have to learn to do what you're doing, which is shut up and listen. I have a hard time doing that.
I feel like
Like
I
I'll get
talk all the fucking time.
no,
I
and here
hate it.
you're good. And like I did a Jerry Worms live, and my wife said it, and very few of several comments said it. Like you cut them off. So I'm going to have to learn to. And I'm very ADD. I'm very fidgety, so I'm going to have to learn to calm down, slow down. And I've been doing some episodes with Tyler and Counterculture and Regan from Counterculture Becoming, and I've been on Anti-Hero and getting it. But I'm gonna have to. It's different. It's different sitting where you're doing right now, listening and asking questions, and I'm gonna have to do that. And like I said, Jerry Worms will be my first guest. We did a little test run yesterday, did some questions and stuff to check the equipment. But that's gonna be a transition. And again, hopefully it's successful. I mean, I really don't care. I mean, I do, but I don't. It's not like I'm retired. I'm good financially. Everything's good with the business. But I think personality wise, you know, and again, the bigger you get, and this is kind of where people go off the rails, where you can get your head too big. And I don't. You obviously, if you have 20 followers, 50 followers, 100 followers, you're not gonna. It's hard to get. You're not gonna get big name people on. So like the way Tyler and them guys have grown and getting your Eddie Gallagher's and these SF guys and big name people, Crenshaw. So I look at it like you have to have the following, you have to be successful to get big, but by being bigger and having that page or that like Copville took off, it gives me a little more access to people. But I want to use that for positive reasons, not to be famous, not to be Mike and I'm cool and I'm Copville. But again, I donate a ton of money, dog rescues, my other page, Dogs Over People, trying to get that to take off. And then whenever a cop gets killed or injured or has one guy's a tree fell in his house during the hurricane in Florida, I want to donate. So part of this is that's really my biggest thing is financially. Yeah, do I make money? But I haven't taken any profit from any of this Copville stuff. This was obviously all bought with that and donations and stuff. But so that's kind of where I sit is like it's not if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But my reasons for doing it aren't like the get rich quick scheme. Like I'm going to be rich and I'm going to be famous. It's more like I want to help people and I want to bring accountability. And part of my podcast, which I didn't talk about this, is like I got fucked in my IA. I have an inbox full of dudes where I've said, start sending me your emails of your IA files and the shit that's happened to you from these fucked up agencies that have railroaded these dudes. And we're gonna fucking talk about it. Just like I'm gonna talk about my agency. I'm gonna talk about all these fucking dudes that railroaded me and their day's coming. I want to do that for other guys too. And, give them a chance to talk about some, getting fucked in some type of internal affairs investigation or getting fired and Like I said, I have a ton of guys ready to go. So that's kind of where I sit with what I plan on doing. That's on mine. And then, like I said, we have counterculture now with me, Tyler, and Regan. We're kind of taking off on that. Going to Jersey next month and making some public appearances, and I plan on doing that as well. Going to SWAT round up in Orlando, going maybe to NTOA, which is the Training Officer Association up in um, Nashville, setting up a booth, selling stuff. So we'll see. Like I said, I enjoy it, and I think it's cool, and I make a lot of good contacts, and I think I'm able to make a difference and help some people, and that's really what I'm about.
Yeah, you're going the right way with it, obviously, like with that following and then getting involved with them. Like, I went down this giant rabbit hole of the count. Like, I started following Antihero, and then messaged Tyler. We had that talk, and I started looking up counterculture stuff. And I found you, I found Reagan, right? I'm having Reagan
Mhm.
on in a couple weeks too. And
Yeah, great dude.
yeah. And your guys' stuff is so real because it's calling out the bullshit while still
Mhm.
maintaining a professionalism to it, which is great. So,
Yeah.
the one
Hey,
big thing I wanted to talk about was, number one, the involvement with counterculture, and two, if you can hit on it, that episode, which I think is making the rounds pretty big. Um, you on Squadcast talking to Dan Crenshaw. For those that are listening, if you don't know about it, which it's kind of big, Dan Crenshaw made a thread about Tucker Carlson on a hot mic that really wasn't part of the interview. There was this whole thing about it. They both back and forth, back and forth. Not only that, Dan Crenshaw made allegations about Eddie Gallagher, kind of where he says he supported him, even though Eddie and his wife, from what I'm tracking, and a few others have said no, he wasn't. Um, that's a whole very thing. Can you talk about that a little bit before?
yeah.
I know we're
So
kind of struck on time, but I really want to hear
no, it's
about
good.
that.
So counterculture obviously is something that Tyler started, and it's that group, and there's a whole list of guys and podcasts and pages, Red Ninja and Kenny and all those guys in Jersey, and so that's more like a social media group, and where they help as like when I needed my website design, Brendan from Black Smoke Sticker is part of Unbecoming Pod with Regan. He jumps in and helps. Vanessa's kind of like the brains behind everything and does all the like sorting and set up times. And so you have like basically it's a group of guys that have podcasts and have social media pages, but it's all of us together helping each other. And then now we're starting to grow. We're going to Jersey. They did the one in Orlando last year. We're going to Jersey April 5th. And I think it's called a brewing company, 902 Brewing Company, I think. And so that's, we're starting to get out. As far as the episode goes, I kind of got I happened to be Tyler asked me, Brent was out of town and said, "Hey, you want to co-host Anti-Hero?" And I was like, "Sure." It was like a month before the actual episode. So then I find out like the day before, Regan had flown in, and he was going to be. It was me, Regan, and Tyler. And I find out the day before, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that Crenshaw's coming on, and Tyler starts firing documents out and says, "Hey, this is from Eddie. Read this. This is from the family. Read this. Read this." So I start going kind of through it, and then I go over there that day and um, weird. Again, this is where it's like I'm a fanboy. Kind of, obviously, I followed the Eddie Gallagher story pretty heavy, and when he was in jail and all that stuff that was going on, and watching his wife and all that. So I kind of started studying. And then there I am, like an hour before the show. Eddie and his wife were on speaker. We're kind of talking to them about what their take on things are, and then Crenshaw comes on, and Crenshaw's been accused the hot mic thing. I really don't. That's I'd fuck. We've all
Who
said that.
cares? Like, who
Yeah,
cares?
that to me, and that's where I agree with Dan. And it's pussy what that guy did.
Yeah.
Like that'd be like me beforehand saying something stupid and you going and making a reel
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. Like
Like, you'd be like, yeah, fuck Tyler.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why
yeah.
would
We
I?
have it's like an understanding. We're fucking here. We're talking, and he says that, and this fucking reporter, and it was I think it was in England and or UK reporter. I don't know if it was in England, UK reporter. That's bad to me. That's bad business, and it is what it is. And I read that, that's a sound bite that's just going to make waves. I don't think he didn't threaten his life. He's not going to kill him. That was bullshit. Cool sound bite. But so from what I gathered from reading everything and all the documents was the easiest reader digest of what is going on is, Eddie's being kept in solitary confinement. I remember following it. He's in the fucking worst conditions. He's accused of war crimes. He's a fucking hero. He's a SEAL. Now, can those guys, and I got a lot of flack, like people, I guess I said more than once I was a 23-year veteran and cop. And I think people misunderstood what I was saying about getting him out. Like I wanted him fucking released, like free and clear, he's gone. That's not what I was saying. Like a bond system, like let him out of fucking jail to like prepare for this,
Yeah, just don't
whatever.
hold him forever.
So,
That's all.
so what the family did was they wrote a letter that they wanted published to go to, like that they wanted to get to Trump and get to as many people as they could. And then Dan wrote a letter, and the biggest gripe from the family was they wanted their letter pushed through, and it called for him to be released, and it was pretty aggressive. And then Dan wrote his own, and it asked for him to be moved. It wasn't. It said, "Can you move him from solitary confinement to a better location to get more resources and have more contact, all that stuff." My biggest hang up on it was is not putting in there at least that the family, or just saying, let him be released, and again, not fucking let out of jail and not to face the charges out. Like we let, and I brought up on the show, there was a fucking dude killed a cop in Texas back in like July, and he got a bond last week of $1 million. He got $500,000 for capital murder or first degree murder of a police officer, $500,000 for tampering evidence. So this dude's fucking killed a cop and he's out. So that's what I was kind of making reference to, was letting him out. So the big holdup there, the gripe is, what I was told was Eddie's brother never left DC, and he basically beat on doors and stayed up there the whole time trying to lobby people. And then the family wrote their letter. Dan writes his. The family gets traction from some other people and other in the Congress and stuff. And Dan goes, I think they end up both letters end up making it their way somewhere. Dan claims his letter got him moved. The family says the brother and him being up there and their letter got him moved. And there's kind of this big discrepancy. What I was getting at when I kind of got on him was the Navy SEALs are obviously a very small part of the world and the most elite trained dudes on earth. Like there ain't much more cooler than, a Navy SEAL and being the people that keep that do the shit that we can't
Yeah,
even gather in our brain.
they're sick.
They're
Yeah.
fucking warriors, dude. Yeah. So my point was is I just feel like again, if if I would think you would want to put a little bit more effort. Now, again, having listened back in hindsight, Dan did mention that, there's four other SEALs saying this dude's a piece of shit. So he's like, well, who do I believe? And I kind of understand that now. But my point was at least put in there the letter, like, it never would have worked. It never would have worked. It wouldn't have done. I did all I could. My letter got him. What I gathered from him was he was very he doesn't do anything wrong. And I think I actually said at one point, hey, man, have you ever done anything wrong in your life? Like once? Like, because everything was just like, no, it was my way. I did it right. Everything was right. And then about sitting down with Eddie, I said, why wouldn't you fucking guys, like, you have this, you have all this shit getting slung back and forth. And again, it's not like Tucker Carlson and Dan Crenshaw, like they're not really connected other than media, whatever. These guys are both fucking Navy SEALs, and they have that family of like people and brotherhood and all those other guys connected, and all these people. Goggins is involved. Text message to Goggins, Marcus Luttrell, like all this shit. So I just kept saying like, what? And he basically said to me like, oh, I'm too busy. It's not a big deal. Blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, but it is, because you're on a podcast talking about it. You got Eddie Gallagher making videos about it. And again, if you're a fucking mailman and a fucking like two unrelated profession, who fucking cares if you guys don't like each other? But I just kept defaulting back. I guess what I think, if like I had a problem with a cop, like me and Tyler decide we're mad and we're in the same profession and it's over some type of work stuff, you would think it'd make more sense for me and him to sit down. And I said to him, it's like two guys in an office that just can't get along and they're fucking making everybody else miserable. Why wouldn't you just sit down and talk to him? And he thought he's too busy. He's doing other great things. And again,
Yeah.
I was like, eh. And in my experience, again, obviously I don't know everything. I just, based on interviewing murder suspects and people and all that, he was very laugh offish, very dismissive, chuckly. Like it's not, to me, a very chuckly subject. I mean, yeah, it's not. I get it, but it just seemed, I don't know. It seemed just ingenuine to me that he was as serious about it as he was. And then, and I could imagine, his fucking dude, Eddie Gallagher's wife's at home, his kids, he's fucking in. He's not out loud of his cell. He's getting fed minimum food. Like, imagine if your family. So that was what happened, and it was very surreal or odd going at it with a fucking congressman, because I was a huge Crenshaw fan, and I don't know that I dislike him. I just felt like, there's other stuff out there. People say he's insider trading and he's Ukraine friendly and all that garbage. I try not to dig into that too much because I'm not real versed in that, but I did follow the Gallagher stuff, and I just feel like he was very dismissive of what the family wanted, and very, I did it all. I made this all happen, and I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way, and it was kind of strange to me that they wouldn't just, he wouldn't talk. And Eddie says he'll talk to him, and Dan says, "Fuck it, I'm not talking to him." So it's just strange to me.
Yeah, there's one thing I've learned in the military. I've been in 10 years and you did 23. These type of civil service jobs, the best way to get rid of this hostility and shit is just sit down and talk. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's a hard discussion, but at the
yeah,
end of it, it's still better off than where it was before. I never get why people don't want to have
yeah,
like, I get you're busy. I get
yeah.
Eddie's busy, whatever. You got 30 minutes, like me and you. I was telling Tyler about this and I was telling somebody else the finding time is half the battle in this type of industry, but you can find an hour or two somewhere to sit down and have a damn conversation. I don't get it.
Unless you're, I almost said guilty. Unless you don't think you've been honest, not honest. Unless you just, again, what do criminals do? They ask for a lawyer. They don't talk to the cops. So do you just, you take your own opinion out of that? But I know, if you're if somebody walks in this house right now and drags me out and says I killed my neighbor yesterday and I didn't do it, we gonna talk all night long. Like,
Yes.
we are gonna have a lot to say because I'm gonna be fuck. And again, that was a tactic we used. Like, in the police world, like, one of the telltale signs of guilt was, and again, you can't, just because you want a lawyer. There are times when you probably should get a lawyer regardless of your guilt. If you, like, again, if you didn't do it and it looks like all of a sudden they're stacking the deck against you like illegal, get a fucking lawyer. But one of our tactics was in high profile cases, and usually in where it really appeared well was in your child porn, or nasty cases like that, where the victim or the suspect would fall asleep right after they were interviewed. So you go in there and you drill this dude, and you're accusing him of, like, you raped your daughter, you raped your sister, whatever, cousin, your child.
You
You
had to deal
you.
with those cases?
Oh yeah, I worked a
Oh my
while in those cases.
god.
They're terrible, and these dudes would fall asleep. Can you imagine? You're sitting in a box, you're sitting in a room, and some dude just walked in and accused you of raping
It,
or a
I
child.
Yeah, how are you
If you were
sleeping? How the
innocent,
fuck are
if you
you
were
sleeping?
innocent, you would run through the fucking wall, or you'd be like, "Here's my DNA. Here's everything. Here's my phone. I didn't do it." So one of the
I'm getting mad
cases
thinking
that's,
about that. I can't
yeah, one
stand that
one of
shit. Like
one of
it
the cases that stands out to me was, we had a deputy who was downloading child pornography, and the ICAC system picked it up. Well, these two dudes, he was in the military. Both of them were. No, I don't think the brother was. The one dude was in the military, and they should have known he's a piece of shit because he doctored up Ranger documents and said he was in Ranger school and all that shit, and it was fake. And he was in SF. They found all that was wrong. But anyway, they got two brothers, and they're living on back when I first started. Well, midway through, they would put cops at the schools for free to have like a trailer. They would pay for a trailer and have a cop at the school. That way, you could, like, a safety officer and all that stuff. So this dude's living on school property, so they have one IP address to the trailer, and it's a guy and his brother. One's a cop, one's not a cop. Well, they get a fucking tip through the ICAC system that there's child pornography going through this IP address. So you got these two. One's a cop. Well, it's got to be the brother. One's a cop. So they bring them both in and they interview them. And the brother is fucking furious, pacing in one room after being accused, and the cop is asleep. Same accusations, same interview, and they all went, "Well, we know who did it." There he is, and ended up being on his fucking hard drive in the patrol car trunk, all the
sick
fucking stuff.
fuck. I don't get
Yeah,
it.
and he ended up, I think he got a long time, 14, 15, 20 years. But again, so that was like a telltale sign. So what I get at is,
Yeah.
if you're not willing to face the person, like, if you're innocent, I don't care any circumstance, unless there was something wildly different, like, because of this, the dude did something that I would, like, want to kill him if I sat across from him. Other than that, if you're telling me I didn't do something, I'm going to sit down and go, "Look, bitch, I did do it. This is what I did. And I feel in my heart it was the right thing to do." And I would have no problem sitting down with somebody saying that. Again, some people don't like conflict. Some people don't like that, but dude's a fucking politician. So he loves the camera. Dude's a fucking Navy SEAL. So he's obviously done some shit. So for a guy that loves to talk, loves to talk about himself, politician and Navy, you would think I would sit down and be like, look, dude, I fucking did everything I could for you. I'm sitting right here across from you and tell you to your face. Again, but because you hire a lawyer or because you don't want to talk, you can't assume somebody's guilty. So I will say that. But I would think you would want to settle that if it was me.
That's the perfect breakdown, man. Um, wow, we we went over a lot today.
No, I'm good. Yep. Yep.
No,
Yep.
um, I can't thank you enough, man, for coming on here. You
No problem.
explained not only your life, which I appreciate and support, but a lot of stuff you've been going through, and it's all positive to me. And I love to see where you're going. I can't wait to listen to your podcast, especially with. I was raised on cops by my dad, so to hear that Jerry Worm's going to be your first
Yeah.
guest is
I can't
exciting.
wait. And his
Yeah,
listen, you do not want to miss that. There is a side of his life before he was a cop that is its own entire fucking like what he did before a cop, that's enough life right there. Like it's amazing. And then he becomes a cop and obviously is like the heart and soul of like old school fucking policing. So it's gonna be a pretty cool story when everybody gets to hear it.
yeah, awesome, man. I can't wait, and I'll put it up. But we'll put all your your pages, Copville OG, right now because the bastard hackers got your other one, and
Yeah,
I want to put up your other one that supports the animals and stuff, and we'll get all your stuff on there. But
appreciate it, man. I
thank
really
you
do.
so much for coming on here.
Absolutely, man.
All
Thank
right,
you.
guys, thanks for listening. See you next time.